I don't know much about plants, actually. I mean, that's why I'm working with plants. My name is Zheng Bo. I work with plants to address ecological issues. So this is a project at the Kadoorie farm and botanical garden in Hong Kong. I've worked with the scientists, the orchid growers, and then the tree team here, and also my neighbors on Lantau Island to create an installation here called Life is Hard. Why do we make it so easy? It's only been 8 years. I think I came to thinking about ecological issues quite late. So 8 years is a very short time to learn about other forms of life. So I went to visit before the Thailand Biennial. The local curator took me to see a group of local farmers who have been growing orchids. So I asked what are the key thinkers on sort of ecological issues, land-related issues, and she mentioned Zhang Dai. So I watched the TED Talk. The title was Life is Easy, Why Do We Make It So Hard? You know, I've been working with plants for a few years, and I've come to realize that there are many different aspects to life. It's very difficult to say whether life is easy or hard. I think I wanted to work with that statement, try to open it up a little bit, and that's how the project came about. Yeah. You know, working with plants is actually a life and death issue because we are putting bamboo frames, orchids, and ferns. There's a risk they might die. So I always have to rely on people who have a lot more experience working with plants to make sure that the project is not going to kill the plants. That's the basic, but also actually leave space and time for plants to grow and to really manifest their voice and their energy, their vitality. So that's why, you know, working with Stephen Gale, who's a plant scientist, helps me to make sure, you know, the orchids and the ferns will live well in the project, but also to teach me about these plants. Then in terms of producing the work, in Thailand, the work was produced by a local NGO. It's a group of farmers who have been growing orchids, and then they sell half of the orchids to sustain themselves, put the other half back into the forest as a reintroduction effort. So I live in a village in Hong Kong, and I've seen my neighbors use bamboo quite often in their farming practice. So I thought, okay, why not just see if they could make the frame? I trust they can do it. They just never done it in this form. And then here, Stefan and his colleagues grew the orchids onto the frames. And then after the exhibition, they can put some of the orchids and ferns back into this botanical garden. So this is much more than what I could provide as a single artist. So the first living slogan work was Socialism good. You know, I don't know why. I was just walking one day and then I came up with the idea to replant that slogan because that slogan was planted on Tiananmen Square in 1991. I think because I grew up sort of at the end of the socialist period in China, I kind of experienced the positive side of socialist relations. So I always feel more comfortable if there's more equality around. When I started to work with plants, I realized the severity of inequality between us and other forms of life. We almost try to push the great majority of humans, almost the entirety of other forms of life into the margins. We help certain species to propagate and then we ignore the majority of other species. And then we, you know, purposely or inadvertently destroy their habitat and kill them. We have made other lives, in particular plants and animals, much more difficult. So this huge force is something that collectively we have to wrestle with. I think more people definitely care now. Particularly, I think a lot of younger people care about this. But also, I think it takes more of us to voice our concerns so that the mainstream of the industry, either voluntarily or by pressure, they have to change. I think I'm only being able to do a small part. I used to mainly just work with weeds because they are quite marginal in our urban environment. I think now I feel all other forms of life are being marginalized. I'm also showing 2 series of drawings that I've been making of plants around me every day. I wanted to get to know the plants around me. I started walking around and just taking photos, but then I realized I really have trouble remembering the plants if I just take a photo. So drawing is just something that helped me to slow down. So drawing is almost just a way to force myself to spend 30 minutes, 1 hour with one plant or a group of plants. Drawing plants has been a form of meditation for me because it's easier than just sitting alone. There are always plants around, so it's not something difficult to do. These sort of daily practices are something that's doable almost by everyone.